Hello, everybody. It's me, Andres, again on Kasvuminutid podcast, and this time show will be fully in English. I have here my really fantastic guest today, Jonathan Courtney, and uh, from AJ&Smart. Hello, Jonathan.
Hey, what's up, Andres?
Hello, hello. And
You finally
yeah,
made it work.
the backstory was that I had to work my ass off to get at least 50 podcast episodes. So Jonathan promised that if I get 50, he will jump in. So here we are
Yes. Yeah,
talking.
actually, I'm very surprised. So, just the context on that is a lot of people asked me to be on their podcast, which I'm really obviously honored to be asked at all.
Yeah,
But just due to my schedule, it's very difficult, as you probably saw
yeah,
the
I
amount
saw.
of
And you have
behind the scenes. But what I decided to say is, okay, if your podcast gets, and I stole this from Seth Godin. I think he says if your podcast has 100 episodes, I'll go on it.
yeah,
And
that's
so
right.
since I'm way lower down in the hierarchy than Seth Godin, I was like, okay,
Yeah,
if your podcast gets 60 episodes, then I'll come on it because it means you're really doing it instead of it being a throwaway kind of project. So congratulations on getting to 50 episodes. Almost no one ever does this.
yeah, I know that. And the biggest thing is like I'm really enjoying to lead the podcast, to listen from the customers, and I'm just getting smarter. And that's the case with me also doing trainings that people get smarter in the room, hopefully, but I get smarter when they ask questions from me, and it
What do
works well. So
you What have you noticed about your business? Like, what effect has the podcast had on your business? I'm just curious in general. Have you found
yes, those who
it has an
are
effect?
listening, and I think the biggest uh, customer request traffic is from the podcast, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Wow.
So each time I make, and this I have been now, usually it's once a month or once in 3 weeks, but now I also was really, really busy in November. So yeah, we already felt that if there's a little break in the podcast, the traffic is less. So yeah,
Well,
luckily
that's
the
amazing. And
biggest
then I'm happy that
traffic maker actually
that's
for
great.
us.
Then I'm happy that I said, I'll
Yeah.
come on 50 So what episode will this one be? What number?
I didn't number it. I think it's
Okay.
52 or 53 or
Okay.
something like that. Yeah, so it's it's around. Yeah, you can just round it to 50 still if you
And
look at the scale.
is there anything in particular you think I could talk about that would be useful to your audience or that would be yeah, that would give the most value to your audience? Like what types of things do they want to hear about? Like what do they want to know? I want to be
Yes.
just as valuable as possible, so I am
Yeah.
here for you and your audience for the next 45 minutes or so.
Yeah. So if you can somehow make uh, uh, some mini training or like entrepreneur spirit, I guess, or facilitation or using design sprints to accelerate your product development. So that kind of stuff, because most of our listeners are product development or product managers and etc. And also designers,
Okay.
quite many designers. So uh, this will be probably yeah, comes out. But anyway, I'll start with questions. I was prepared for that. So
Okay.
let's start with a bigger picture. Your personal journey from, let's say, from UX designer start of the first, when you draw your first button
Yeah.
until now. So if you look back at this journey or milestones, so what has been your journey and your experiences?
I'll try to keep it relatively short, just to the main points about that. So I started as a UX designer when I was 23. So I studied something called digital media production
Okay.
in Cork City. It was called multimedia there. It was like a bachelor degree in digital media something. And then I moved my course over to Germany because I did my Erasmus. It's like a European
Hmm.
thing where you can
Yeah.
go between colleges. So
Mhm.
I decided to move to the German college because they actually had a better filmmaking studio and decided to stay there
Mhm.
because I was more interested in filmmaking than anything else. So I wasn't actually learning UX design. I was just doing a bit of everything. We were doing web design, graphic design, psychology of design. These were just some random classes, photography, audio design, filmmaking, all that kind of stuff, game design as well.
Mm.
So I was kind of doing a bit of everything. But actually, when I graduated in 2008, I think it was 2000, summer or September 2008. My goal was to move to Berlin and become a filmmaker and work at the Potsdam Film Studios, Babelsberg. And I was very lucky that a couple of my friends went to work there after college. And one friend in particular um, from from my college called me one day and he offered me a job on a set there, which was amazing. But the exact same day, I got an offer for a completely different job, which was a UX designer at a
Yeah.
company in Berlin, because I was basically advertising myself. I was doing job interviews for either web design. It wasn't, sorry, it was not UX designer. This is not true. It was web designer.
Mhm.
So I was doing interviews for web designer. I was doing interviews for like making video ads for people, like not for Facebook. It was just like literally like old school TV ads, or I wanted to be an assistant director on film sets. And I was just like interviewing everywhere for anything. And also I didn't care. I just needed to make money. So I was also interviewing at like bars and all of this kind of stuff. I was trying to make money. Um, and my first job, like it was one specific day, which is always a weird, annoying thing that happens is you're waiting for ages for something to happen and then nothing's happening. And then two opportunities come along on the exact same day. Um, one, I can tell you the movie it was. It was to work on a movie called Cloud Atlas. So this will give you a feeling for the timeline, which was a movie with Tom Hanks and like just so cool. I guess it doesn't really matter if I say I mean, because I was offered like a very low level
Yeah.
working on the set job. Um, and the second job was this, designer at a small business here in Berlin. I chose the second job because it was more money.
Yeah.
That was
Okay.
it.
Easy
Yeah, I chose
calculation.
it. I was really broke. I'd moved from Ireland to Germany. I didn't have any money. Um, I just needed money to live.
Mm.
The end. I
Okay.
didn't have any backup. I just needed. I also owed some people money, like
Yeah.
because during college, like paying rent and everything, I think
Yeah.
I owed
Yeah.
this guy. So one guy who helped me make my student film, he funded some of my student film by 500 euros. So I owed him 500 euros. Thank you, David. You're a legend.
Yeah.
Guy called David Schmidt. He gave like he basically I needed money. And so I just went to work at this company and didn't pursue film anymore because the film job was something like 450 euro per month, which I couldn't live on. And the design job was like 1,000 something per month, which I
Mm.
could survive on easily in Berlin.
Yeah.
Um, that's where I met Michael Smart, the co-founder of AJ&Smart. He was a freelancer at the small business that I was the designer at. I became like the lead designer, which is easy in a small business. And I was working on a web app for like tracking trucks. It was like a fleet management system. So it was just me and a developer working on that, and I had to learn how to make buttons. So my first button that I ever got paid to make was for a company in Berlin called Enaikon, Enaikon. They are still around.
Yeah.
They're still using.
Thanks
Okay,
to your button.
definitely. So I'll give you so their website. I designed it. It's exactly as I designed it back
Yeah.
in. I don't know if I've ever talked about this. So I'm really getting some major flashbacks. I mean, I
Yeah.
wasn't a very good designer, so don't judge me,
Mm.
please. This
Yeah.
was 16, 17 years ago. Um, I was like loving all the effects and, all the shiny stuff and making the buttons with the
Yeah.
gradients. So anyway, that's what I worked on. That was my first job. And I was very thankful that they brought me in and that they trusted me. And I got just amazing. It was an amazing kickoff for me in my career. And I could also pay my fucking rent, which was
Yeah.
important. Um,
To
so that was
survive. To survive. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, honestly, a lot of conversations around entrepreneurship don't. focus enough on the fact that you just sometimes need to make money. Um, and I think that it's stupid to just, back when I was 22 and living in Berlin and broke, if someone told me, hey, just do what you love, I would just be like, fuck off, I need to pay for my rent. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, you can do what you
Rational,
love. Yeah,
rational answer. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. You can do what you love when your parents are like, when you're from like a wealthy family and your parents pay for everything, that you can like do whatever the
Hmm.
fuck you want. I think that's totally fine and good for you.
Hmm.
But I'm like, I had to figure out my own stuff. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, Ireland had also just had the financial crisis. So
Hmm.
zero,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
zero chance of me getting
Yeah.
money from anybody. Um, so yes, my big revelation of becoming a UX designer was I needed money. So yeah, then I met the my co-founder Michael Smart. So this guy Michael Smart, I don't know if you want this much detail, but I'll just tell you how I started the business. Maybe that's interesting. So this freelancer was working there. His name is Michael Smart, just a really charming, smart guy. His name is Michael Smart, and it was him who was working at a company here in Berlin called ESMT, and they were looking for a company to do a web app for them, it was like about it was something related to automobility. Actually, I wonder if that's still online. Let me just check. Yes, hey, it's here. Ah, yes. Oh my God. I can't believe I haven't searched these things in 16
Yeah,
years and they're
yeah.
still online. If you search for ESMT, mm, um, simulation model for electric mobility, then you'll find the press release for this product, and you can find a few links in there. So anyway, my co-founder was working with the SMT. God damn it, legends! Thank you so much for. They started our career basically. They started AJ&Smart because he got this project. It was too big for him. He asked me if I want to be part of it. I was like, hell yeah! It was too big for the two of us. So I asked the bass player in my band at the time, do you want to be part of the project? Because he was learning coding. It was just like our high school band. We weren't actually making it. We weren't actually doing anything big. And he was like, "Yes, I'll do it too." And
Yeah.
so the three of us went to work like in the office at the SNT because we had no space to work, and they let us work there. We were working from 10 a.m. until 5 a.m. every day for a month, and we made this web app. And because when we tried to build them, they couldn't take three freelancer bills from us. We had to make a business. We had to start a company. So it was like we handed in the bills. They said, sorry, you guys said you're a business. It has to be a business. And then we were like, oh, yeah, no problem. And then 2 days later, we handed in another bill as a business because we basically went and made a business and called it AJ&Smart based on our three names. And that was it. That was the beginning of AJ&Smart. And for the next 16 years, that's it.
Yeah.
Still going.
What right? So now, fast rewinding to this place. Right now, around beginning of October, you announced it's got a bigger reshape of AJ and Smart to three agencies. Like
Yes.
it's like a stock market stock split or something like that. So
Yes.
what is AJ Smart now? Like you are a CEO of AJ Smart, and
So,
what
yeah,
happened?
AJ
What
Smart,
happened?
I guess, number one, we slowly, which happens with a lot of businesses, almost every business over time, especially if it's founder led, the founder, me, and the team get bored of doing the same thing over and over again. And you just start doing different things and different businesses start appearing. So, for example, in 2018, after I don't know how many years of running as an agency, we were like, maybe we should, like, clients keep asking us to train them on the things we're doing. So we were running design sprints from like a year before the book came out. So I think like 2015, 2016. And eventually clients were like, could you just teach our team how to do this so we don't have to have you guys come in? Also because we're always booked out because we're so small and like boutique. And so I was like, yeah, well, I could try it. And so they would like send, 25 of their employees to our office and we teach them how to do design sprints, or we teach them how to do specific, like the way we run UX projects. Or like they would have their employees shadow us on how we do things here at AJ and Smart. And then we still always had cash flow issues. Like every agency, we were like always 2 to 3 months of cash flow in the bank. And I was like, somehow this seems stupid. Why? There must be another way. And so I was constantly looking, like, I was always looking for a new. We were, by the way, we were like 36 people, still the usual crappy agency profit margin of like 12%, and just loads of stress. It was just very stressful. So I was looking for something like different. I'm always looking for new opportunities, and that's kind of my job at AJ&Smart is to like look at what's going on in the market and new stuff. And I think how it actually happened is I gave a talk at a company called no, I gave a talk in Amsterdam. So we were still just an agency. I gave a talk in Amsterdam um, about design sprints. It's actually on YouTube. The video. It's if you search AJ&Smart Amsterdam. I don't know when it was, but it was a long time ago. Then at that talk, there was a guy who was working at Google who was just about to move to a company called Udacity, which is kind of like a course. I don't like a online college thing. Um, and they invited us to do a design sprint at their office to run a design sprint for them for some product thing. We were there, and then they had the idea of us doing a design sprint course on their platform. So we shot that course, and I was like, okay, this is very interesting. Like shooting a course is really, it's hard. That part is hard. But then you have this now every time a client asks us to do a training, we could point them in the direction of Udacity and say, well, you could either do the training with us or you could just buy these licenses for your team.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess just the mixture of seeing that happening, then the cash flow issues, then just kind of hating running a normal agency and all the stress behind it. Eventually, I hired someone, Laura, who you probably know from our community.
Yes.
She's running the company with me now. I hired her. And in her first week of working, I pulled together a team. And the goal was basically how do we create revenue more? How do we basically sell stuff at AJ&Smart that isn't just about delivering like an agency? So we were thinking we could do a SaaS product like everyone else. It's like, we're going to do a SaaS product, or we're going to do this, or we're going to do that. And we actually landed on the boring answer, which was let's do the design sprint course, but our version of it and like the way we would specifically like to run it. And we sell it ourselves. We'll learn how to do all the marketing ourselves and we'll figure it out. So yeah, I think that was around 2016 or 18. I can't remember. I'm getting all the
Yeah.
dates wrong.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't write them down. And we started to we created basically the idea that we're going to launch a design sprint course, but we focused the entire sprint on the thing that everyone forgets, by the way. Everyone talks about, I'm going to make a course, I'm going to make this, I'm going to make that. And then it's like, yeah, everyone can do that. What people can't do is sell. Like, where are the people going? How is it still going to be selling 6 years later? That's the question. And so we focused on learning different marketing things and trying different things and meeting different people. And eventually we learned from someone we basically found on Instagram. By the way, we do that all the time. Like we'll see someone and then we'll be like, fuck it, let's bring them in. Let's see what happens. And we learned about the concept of funnels, which we didn't know about. We learned about Russell Brunson, which by the way, I have one of his books here. I'm always.
Yeah.
We learned about that guy.
Legendary book. Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, this guy never makes his way into the agency world. People like he's too kind of like cheesy. And anyway, we decided, okay, we're going to do a funnel. We're going to do a webinar. And if we sell more than 10,000 euro worth of this course, then we'll make it. We didn't even have an audience at this point. So like, where are they coming from? So we were turning on Facebook ads and putting them into a Facebook group and then warming them up and then sending them to this webinar that I did, which I was super embarrassed about. And I think we made 18,000 euro in the first one. Then we had to make the course. Then I said, okay, the next checkpoint is if we can make 50,000 euro per month by only selling just this program, like as an experiment, then for 3 months, then I will turn it into a team. Then we can call it a different team within the company. So that worked. It did even better than expected. We also had Jake Knapp on board. So we kind of
Yeah, of course.
created the first version as a proof of concept. And then we showed it to Jake, and he was like, yeah, I want to be part of it, which made it much more powerful. Um, and then at that point, we had we'd seen something and we couldn't unsee it. And what we saw was, oh, you don't have to, if you deliver value through education like this, then you don't have to be hunting for companies and desperate for clients and stressed all the time. You just have to think about really making a great product, which for us, we're good at teaching. We are a teaching company. That's what our
Yeah.
YouTube channel was always about, but we never really realized it. Um, and yeah, we started selling different types of in-person and online training, all under the AJ&Smart brand. Eventually, we changed it to the Workshopper, but still AJ&Smart. And then in October, we were like, this is making significantly more revenue now than it's basically it doesn't make sense for it to be nested within AJ&Smart. So we broke it out into facilitator.com on the 1st of October, which is now the world's best facilitation training
Yeah.
company. That's it. I don't know if that's a too long of an answer.
No, no, no. I'm still digging now, but still you split it into other, let's say, areas
Yes.
like studio and partners.
Yeah.
Can you a little bit like why and what and a little bit
Yeah.
like
Of course.
elaborate on that as well?
So Laura and I were in San Diego with one of our mentors in August. The plan originally was to rename AJ&Smart to facilitator.com.
Mm.
Just go all in on facilitation and no longer the other things were just going to be nested inside of that. So it was almost like flipped. But the more I spoke to my mentor, um, and I was like, the more he pointed out that I like to do a lot of different things and I don't like to do one thing at a time. I like to do loads of different projects at the same time. And he said, wouldn't it be more enjoyable for you if AJ&Smart was just a platform for you to do interesting things? And I was like, yeah, but don't we need to focus? Because I've always learned you have to focus, that it's all about focus. And he was like, yeah, but you guys have been focusing on facilitation for like 6 years. Um, what are the other things you want to do? And I was like, yeah, well, I still love designing products, but I just don't want to do it all the time. And I only want to do it for interesting products. So he was like, yeah, then keep the agency part. And I already had the idea for the name AJ&Smart Studio. So I was like, all right. And then he was like, what's the other thing that you guys tend to do all the time? And I said, well, what I actually like to do is I hang around with my entrepreneur friends and I help them to grow their businesses, but I don't have any structure for it. I basically like anyone who has an agency and wants to grow it generally needs some elements that are not pure agency time for money work. And I happen to be very passionate about helping people figure that out and build that out. But yeah, I never charge for it and I never have time for it. It also means I have no time for it. So if a friend of mine running a company will be like, "Hey John, can you like hang out with me for like a few hours and just show me how you guys do like Facebook ads and how you get client?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, no problem." But because it's not a real thing, I end up having to cancel it or move it or whatever, and then maybe we can have a 30-minute call, but then I need to jump onto something else and I wanted to create a structure for it. So with partners, what we have is an ability for us to team up with companies that we like I
Yeah.
like the founders and I know they can grow, meaning I know they are hard workers and I know that they understand like I don't want to it's impossible for me to help someone who's just starting, but someone who's already running a successful business but they're like annoyed by it,
Mhm.
especially agency owners who have like multiple employees and they're getting really annoyed by it.
Mhm.
If they are, and they're like, how are we only making 2 million euro, but we've been here for 6 years and we have like 50 people or something? I'm like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense mathematically. You should be making way more. Um, and sometimes the insight, like the aha moments, like it could be just that I'm sitting with you for a day and that's all I need to do for you for an entire year.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want it to be an agency model where people are paying me per month and all of this crap. So what partners is now basically our advisory thing or our collaboration frame where companies come to us and they say, "Hey, we're making this much money. Can you help us grow?" I'll do a lot of calls with them to have a feeling whether I can help them grow or not. And if I think I can help them grow, we will ask for a significant percentage of their revenue over a period of time, where we will transform the company or make it grow immediately or whatever. Like
Mhm.
we basically kind of just get integrated. We're texting each other, we're calling each other. There's no structure to it,
Yeah.
but it gives me a frame to do a fun thing that I like to do. Um, and it's just super fun. And also they can work from our office. The cool thing is like we have teams flying in from around the world to come hang out at our office for a couple of weeks, and I can just go to their table and we chat and I look at their stuff, and then I go back to my facilitator.com team, then I chat with the studio team. That's better for the way my mind works. I like jumping around to different things the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
So yeah, we it's been super fun. This week was Black Friday as well. So we had a team. We actually had two teams here at the office who are not AJ&Smart. Um, and it's just so fun. They're like, "Oh my God, I can't believe we've never done it like this before."
yeah,
And they're
yeah, like
seeing
a
the
small
numbers going up.
startup hub, accelerator hub, something like
Yes.
that. And I heard that it was like 500. You have to make 500K sales per year already,
To be,
and you have
yeah.
to have
So
this kind of ambition to be,
yeah,
let's say, like growth startup. Let screw it, let's do it, like mentality, in that sense. Yeah,
basically we cannot help what I've tried for many years and I know it doesn't work. I can't help anybody to be an entrepreneur. I cannot help anybody to go from not successful to successful. I just can't do it. It's just not something that I know how to do. I'm just not that type of person because I'm also not a coach, right? I'm just like I am a business runner, and so the it's better if I can work with people who just kind of understand what I mean and don't need to be coached. And so we put that limit on our website. I think we're going to change it to 1 million now,
mhm,
um, where we say we will only work with companies who are already making at least 500K per year revenue, just because then we know we're speaking somewhat a similar language.
yeah,
It's not that someone making less is not smart or something. It's just we might not be speaking the same language. Plus, to be selfish, we wouldn't make enough money from it then.
mhm. And
And I
I
also want
feel
to be
also that
incentivized.
somebody who is making 500K per year usually has to have already some kind of a team, you know, who is like
Yeah,
sharing responsibilities and
usually
whatever
one,
growth and marketing and
yeah,
everything.
usually at least one other person. Actually, two of the people we're working with, it's just a husband and wife.
Mm,
So often
yeah,
it's just one other person. But 500K is just a random
yeah,
arbitrary cutoff point.
yeah, that's right. And I also the team thing also I listened to your last podcast. You said that AJ Smart is really fantastic also with uh, like uh, brainstorming new ideas, what to do, even agreeing the roadmap. But this last bit of execution is always so hard with aligning the
Yes.
team and everything. So, what can you share about that?
I don't
Execution
know.
part.
Um, I have a lot of strong opinions about whether I think that. So, okay, I'll tell you what happens when people come here. Okay, there was a two-person team who has I think they're two other, no, they're three full-time employees and two freelancers. They were here this week. Two of them were here, the two kind of main company runners. And the thing that they came away with this week was, yeah, we need to hire people full time.
Yeah,
Like you need like we have a physical space here in Berlin. We just increased the space again now for the partners thing, so they can work with us in the office. And I don't care what anybody says. Having a physical space and people full time creates a center of gravity where just because people are there, you look for stuff to do. You know, it's like a thing that just starts to automate. It's like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like you have employees, so you look for stuff to do, and then you find stuff to do. So maybe you need more employees, and then it just kind of builds. I don't care if someone's listening to this and wants to be a solopreneur. That's also totally fine. That's just not my journey. Um, for me, I'm kind of chaotic and I need to be held accountable. I like to have a team so that I'm like, oh yeah, there's people here so that when I come up with ideas, we can actually do them. And we get a lot done. We got a lot done this year because we have a team. You get like a superhuman amount of stuff done, and you don't have to choose between doing this thing and this thing. You can do everything, which I like. And so for me, I prefer also to work with companies who are willing to hire people.
Yeah, that's totally a valid point because I have been also trying this, having a different freelancers to grow my company, and now this year also we arrived to have the full-time employee hired addition to me, and then it continues in that sense. What about your how many days in the office policy against the work from home, from pajamas, in the middle of dirty dishes?
we we basically companies are very much small businesses are very much a reflection of the founders and the people leading it. And so what I want to do is be in the office 3 times a week. And so that's what I want everybody else to do. And that's what I also think is the most efficient way for us to do things at AJ&Smart. So we have we tried a lot of different versions of it. Like we were like, come in any 3 days, this and that. Then it doesn't work at all. So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we want people in the office at AJ&Smart.
Makes sense, yeah.
The people who are living in Berlin, we want them in the office Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Um, but it's not like, we have to like crazily convince them because we never went remote. We were never a remote company from the very beginning. So we didn't jump on the sort of remote company thing. I just never believed in it. Even though we do have a significant amount of employees who are not living in Germany, so they are by default remote. But I like to have a core group of people in the office, and I'm sure it's easy to prove me wrong that there's a better way to do it using remote. It's just not me.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah,
not for
yeah. You jumped quickly over Jake name. So Jake Knapp is a creator of with a partner. They created a book of a sprint inside Google Ventures and everything. So how did you discover design sprints? What was that story? And Jake Knapp, who was writer of the book and everything, and yeah, it's like you imported design sprints to Europe, so to say.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think Jake is one of the nicest people I've ever met in my entire life. First of all, I just want to tell you guys that anything Jake produces, you have to buy because this guy has just got to be protected at all costs.
Yeah.
He is
Saint,
just,
saint, saint.
he's a
Yeah.
saint. He's actually the nicest person I've ever met. He's
Mm.
just great. He's like very smart, but also like super, super humble. The perfect human, basically. Okay, I'll stop talking about Jake. I met him because I wanted to meet him. I put a lot of effort into it, and I think maybe Jake appreciated that as well. So I was reading the blog for since the very beginning, the GV Sprint blog. I can't remember what it was called, Sprint Stories maybe. And I was just honestly, it clicked with me immediately. Back then, I was learning all types of workshoppy stuff. Like I was learning design thinking. I was like business model canvas. I was trying to find anything that would help make our
Everything.
UX agency better. And just reading Jake's blog, I was like, wait a minute, there's something in this that's just better than everything else. Or it's like a different way of looking at it that it's connecting with me more than the other things are. And the book came out, I read it. It was the best, it was the best book I've ever read, best business book I've ever read. It affected the company dramatically. We started running sprints immediately. I just decided this is how I want to work now. This just connects with me better than anything else that I'd been thinking about. We also found it much easier to sell sprints than it was to sell like general open-ended UX packages. So for us, it just worked better. It just connected with my personality. And then we did an LDJ. LDJ is just one of the workshops we derived from making the design sprint shorter. And the problem was, how can we become the most well-known design sprint agency. How might we become the most well-known design sprint agency? Something like that. And the top voted thing that came out of it was that I should meet Jake Knapp. Something like so it was something like that. And so how might I meet Jake Knapp was the next one. And the top voted thing that came out of it was submitting a story, a case study to GV about a design sprint we had recently run. And we decided to choose the UN World Food Program design sprint that we'd recently run because we thought like they're seeing this for tech products, but maybe they don't realize it's being used for nonprofits as well and like crazy
Yeah.
organizations like this. So if you search Design Sprint World Food Program or Design Sprint United Nations, you'll see this story, this thing I wrote. I wrote it in like 1 hour right after the workshop. Then I sent it to Jake. I never interacted with him before, but I sent it to Jake and John Zaratsky, whatever. I just sent it to GV. Maybe I just sent it to Sprint Stories and they checked it. Then Jake replied on the same day. And I was like, oh my fucking God, this is so crazy. I was so
Oh,
excited you wouldn't
yeah,
believe
yeah.
it. And then we still weren't making so much money back then. So back then it was a question of like, should I actually spend the money to fly to San Francisco? Um, because that will eat up, company resources. I'm very thankful that that's not the case anymore. But back then it was like, okay, guys, we need a plan. Like, what am I going to do? And so I didn't want to do the thing which I had already read many times is not the thing to do, which is asking, hey, do you want to hang out? Do you want to have a coffee without any like reason? Even though Jake is so nice, he would. But I was thinking like, I was listening to Tim Ferriss, I was listening to Noah Kagan, and they were like, people are always reaching out to me. They never put any effort into it. And it's like almost people become entitled. Like when you become like a kind of public figure or something, people feel like they're entitled to spend time with you or something. And so I knew this stuff because I was listening to Tim Ferriss, I was listening to Noah Kagan, and so I decided and I was listening to Ryan Holiday talking about this thing called the Canvas strategy. So I was like, I need to be very respectful of Jake's time, and I need to not just assume he wants to spend time with me. I want this to be a valuable interaction for him, and so I reached back out to my network so my network in California back then was nothing. Now it's amazing. A lot of it
Zero.
is
Yeah.
thanks to Jake, but it was nothing back then, except for Udacity, because we did the thing with them. And so I reached out to them, and I think it was either, I can't tell which one of these two things is the truth. One of two things happened. One, Udacity reached out to me and asked, did I want to speak at their conference, which was in Silicon Valley, pretty much at the same time. Two, I reached out to them and asked them, could I speak at their conference in Silicon Valley? I can't
Yeah.
remember. One of
It
these
can
two
be
things
both ways. Yeah. Yeah.
happened. I can't remember. Um, so either way, I got a slot at their conference, and then I was able to say to Jake and keep it low pressure for him, hey, I'm going to be in San Francisco this week. Will you be around? And then when he said yes, and it was very soon, it was like in 1 month later, when he said yes, then I said to Udacity, I'm in, I'm coming.
Yeah.
And so I flew to San Francisco. The, I made it seem very low stakes for Jake. So I was like, yeah, if you happen to have time, no worries. If you don't, I'm in town anyway. Obviously, I was like sweating and desperate to meet Jake. I really wanted to. And actually, he doesn't know this, but his assistant actually the day before I was supposed to meet. So I was supposed to meet him on a Wednesday. My flight was on a Thursday night. And I was already worried that he was going to cancel, not because Jake's a bad guy, but just because he's busy. And I got a message from his assistant the day before saying, sorry, Jake doesn't have time. And I was like, no. And I was in San Francisco. Sorry, Jake doesn't have time. Is tomorrow okay? It was the next day okay? And I was like,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
no problem.
Oh. Oh.
And so
Yeah.
So I went there and yes, it was great. Jake's such a nice guy. I pitched him on something immediately, so I didn't go empty-handed. I pitched him on doing a European design sprint training tour.
Hmm. Live training. Yeah. Face to face.
Yeah,
Yeah. Hmm.
because he had not been doing that yet. Like he hadn't been doing public trainings. And so I kind of, but we had been doing them, which is funny, design sprint public trainings, because our clients kept asking for these, and then we ended up doing them. So I pitched him on it, and he was like, "Yes, I'm in." And
Mm,
the way I pitched him on it was like, "We'll take care of all this is the way I often pitch people. We'll do all the marketing, we'll do all the logistics. You just turn up, and you get a huge cut of it."
mm,
Obviously, it benefits us because your brand is on next to our brand. Um, and that was it.
yeah.
Then I pitched him on doing a podcast, and we started doing Jake and Jonathan and Product Breakfast Club. And yeah, now Jake and I have been good friends for many, many years, and I'm doing a huge project with him in 3 weeks.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, you can jump together.
Like our
I still
biggest
remember. Yeah.
collab ever, I would say.
Okay. So yeah, fingers crossed with that. So I remember I did my first design sprint in 2017 after the Jake's book. I liked the design of this book and the structure, and it was so nicely cartoonish and explaining and short. And I think a couple of years later, I got hit by your funnel marketing, of course, and webinar and everything, and buying urgency, and of course,
The ads.
and this started my own business, which has been already now 5 years, and I remember from that. I, Before that, I hated all kind of public presentations. I didn't like some corporate crap presentations, and around let's say 2007, I saw how Steve Jobs talks really shortly about complicated stuff and really clearly, and showing these examples and everything. And then I said, oh yeah, the book was so good. How the hell you can pull off nice e-learning? And I was like, okay, let's try. And then I got your first chapters. What you did, they were like 7, 8, and 10 minutes chunks. I recently got one e-learning, which was first chapter was 28 minutes, and it was just like blobbing like a lot of, and so well structured. This is like even same level or even better than the book. So I was really surprised. How did you, like you said, like a training company, or how you generate trainings from the like video trainings and prepare them and rehearse and cut. And I know how big work this is. So yeah. But now
Well, thank you.
jumping over to
But
the
one thing I will say,
yeah,
just one thing about
yeah,
making online courses, because everyone does it wrong. The reason our courses are well structured is because I say it like we're a band. We do it live first multiple times. So we always do the trainings. If you look at our website right now, Full Stack Facilitator is our in-person live training. In 2026, our next online course will probably be called Full Stack Facilitator because I've run it. I will have run it 6 or 7 times. I'll know exactly the structure that should work. So we rarely just go and make an online course. We first run it live for a long time, maybe with clients, maybe publicly, and then we had been doing design sprint training for like 2 years by the time we recorded anything. So we also had like all the slides and everything done for the
yeah.
in-person version of it.
Experience, energy, stories, everything is there in that sense.
Yeah.
Jake, in last training, which I joined, Jake Knapp update training of design sprints, he said that definition of the design sprint for him was to align the team, create the prototype, and validate it on the users. This three thing. So, what is your definition for design sprint? It's just for the audience. It's meant as process to accelerate service design and UX design, so to say, to create the products and services. But what is your latest definition for that?
I mean, it's pretty much not changed since the beginning. The way we talk about design sprints, the practical element is to our clients, hey, you go from an idea to a prototype in 1 week.
Yeah.
That's the thing the clients want to hear. That's like the tangible part of it. You go from an idea to a prototype in just 1 week. And then to get to that point, your team has to align around the problem. Your team has to align around the solution. And we will essentially use the structure to facilitate that. So yeah, but in the end, my simple answer to that question is we'll help your team using a design sprint. We'll help your team get to a clear tangible, visual prototype of what this future version of your product could be or your future
Mm-hmm.
product could be within 5 days. So you can cut out the back and forth conversations about it that could go on for months. That's the way
Mm-hmm.
we sell it, I
Mm-hmm.
guess.
Yeah, and I have done already now in Futurist, we have done already around 35 design sprints, and it's not, of course, a lot of commercial stuff and e-shops and apps, but we have also done mission critical stuff. We did for police investigators one design sprint. We did for
Cool.
medical stuff who are in the ambulance and going to the injured persons with an iPad and kneeling and getting the data out. Second version for Estonia,
Very cool.
and first time everybody hears publicly, um, Estonia has biggest news portal where if somebody dies, you publish this kind of notification, sincere, commemorating if somebody dies, biggest portal of this kind of listings.
Most
And
popular death portal.
yeah, it was like, yeah, this announcements and just shouting back and commemorations. And we had a design sprint on that actually. And
Wow.
it just went live after 1 year of creation. And it was so huge responsibility, like how to make in TikTok age of just commemorating somebody who passed away, and it launched. It's called in Estonia. It's a Postimees mälestusraamat. It's memory book translated
Memory
to
book.
English.
Okay.
Yeah. And it just launched, and it's in beta. It's in the biggest online and paper newspaper media portal. So
Cool. I mean, that sounds
in
like a
that sense,
very,
you can take you can do mission critical stuff really with that. Like that the UN for food project, I think same thing can change people's lives, and that, in that sense, not just
absolutely.
commercial whatever, buy stuff you don't need services.
I like to buy stuff I don't need. I'm
Yeah,
surrounded by it.
yeah, that's right, that's right. Teenage engineering
Oh,
just sends
I will buy
newsletters.
everything teenage engineering
Yeah,
makes. I don't
they
care.
just send newsletters. Okay, and the latest news is the facilitator.com and the facilitation. So my question is for you that to summarize our podcast as the time flies, we have definitely a lot of stuff more to talk, but you did put all in about 2 years ago for the facilitation. Like you said, I just sitting your term then that we will own the word facilitation around the globe or something like that. And can you just like as a summary say to the audience like why facilitation and why do you think organizations and teams need to be educated to
Okay.
facilitate? It's just like still a little bit like foreign word.
Look, with facilitation, it was a very simple, similar to the design sprint. Look, we were looking for something to make the start of UX projects easier. We hated the start of UX projects, like just weeks and months of talking in circles about what the hell the product should be, and then design sprints kind of solve that over time. And again, it's something that clients just sort of ask for. Over time, clients would see us doing design sprints and then they would invite us to do other things. So they would say, "Oh, can you do a design sprint for our team retreat? But we only have 2 days. Oh, can you do a design sprint for our uh, company conference planning event, blah, 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 but we only have 3 hours." And eventually I was like, "Oh, okay, we'll do a mini sprint. Okay, we'll do a micro sprint." And eventually, because I was just, I like to just read all these books. Eventually I just realized maybe we were looking for like, what's the umbrella? What's the thing above the design sprint and design thinking and all of these things? What's the thing that sort of is common across all of them? And we incorrectly initially came up with the concept of workshops. So like all of these things include workshops. But then, I started getting invited to do other things like going to like a C-level meeting offsite where they had to decide on like the future brand vision, but actually there's not really much workshopping happening at all. It's just more like me helping them sequence the discussion. And so it was just a natural, slow movement towards what actually became facilitation. And I started to learn about like the term facilitation. I think the first time I used the term was in 2020. The first time I used it publicly in our content was in 2020 when we launched Workshop or Master, where I had a section on facilitation in there. It was called Master Level Facilitation. So I was seeing facilitation as like, oh, we need to have facilitation because that will make the workshopping better. And just in the last 4 years, we've realized that actually the facilitation itself, the soft skill of facilitation, along with all the tools and tactics that come with it, are really the thing that's making the difference. Are really the thing that's is really the thing that's helping companies more than anything else. Because if you can bring someone into a room that can smoothen out the rough edges of collaboration, it can dramatically change the feeling and outcome of a project. And so we just ended up doing more and more and more facilitation as an agency, like them booking us to facilitate things, less and less design sprints, more and more general facilitation. And it's not like some big bold decision. We just started making more money with that, and eventually it tipped over, and we started making more money with that, and there was just more energy, energy and excitement at AJ and Smart behind the topic. And in the end, the only things that work at AJ and Smart are things that the team is excited about, and the team was excited about facilitating and getting better at facilitation. And so um, and I bought the domain name facilitator.com, I think in June 2020 or something like that, just in case we ended up going down that route. And yeah, this year we just said, okay, now we're basically, what do we talk about all the time at AJ and Smart? Facilitation. Like, what are we doing 24/7 here? Facilitating stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, let's let's go with it for facilitator.com. Go all in with it, and yeah, that's what happened.
Mhm. What kind of pain usually companies or individuals have who do not know how to facilitate in terms of the meetings or whatever group
Well,
dynamics, or what is your feeling
okay,
after
so
the big many trainings you have done recently?
there's so many. I could talk about this for hours. I do corporate training, so sometimes I do like this 5-day course. I do full stack facilitator, but inside companies.
Mhm.
And so I get a really good insight into what it looks like inside companies and all the issues that they have. And then I bring that to the public stuff. Obviously, the biggest thing is that they find it very difficult to make decisions because they don't know the collaboration is not something that anyone is responsible for in a team. You just, hey, we need to solve this problem. Everyone gets in a room and they talk
Let's have a
for,
meeting. Let's have a meeting.
yeah,
Let's
let's
have
have
a
a
very
meeting.
occurring meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like I don't know, you probably already know it, but our next book is called Meetings. So it's
Yeah.
going to be all about fixing meetings. Yeah, most of the time their problem is that they waste shit tons of time doing meetings, talking, getting nothing done, not making decisions, not being able to solve problems quickly. And they don't know that facilitation helps with that. That's what our marketing does.
Mhm.
So what happens is, someone will desperately search how to make meetings better. Then they'll come across facilitation, whether it's us or not, it doesn't matter. And then eventually they might find us or another supplier. But yeah, it's all about collaboration, all about meetings.
Mhm.
That's it.
And facilitator.com has 3 directions to learn facilitation, from basic to in-person trainings and everything. So
Yeah. Like you can
why
either,
and what? Why and what?
it's like, it depends on how deep you want to go. Like if you have, if you want to, like it's basically the best way to learn is in person. If you want the best thing, you come spend 5 full days with us. It's super intense. You'll get to practice. You get to learn all the theory. You get everything. The people who come out of that just know more because they've just had repetition. They've just done the exercises over and over again. We put them in fake role play situations, all of that kind of stuff. The second best thing is to join something like our hybrid program, Workshop or Master, where there's live elements multiple times per week, meaning live Zoom calls and Zoom events, plus a course as the supporting material. And so in person is great for people who just do not learn well, like by sitting down at a computer. I don't,
Yeah,
for example.
yeah, yeah. Mhm,
I'm too chaotic. I need to like block out the time and go to a thing.
mhm,
But it's also our most expensive thing. So
mhm,
like most people cannot go to that initially unless their company's paying for it. Um, the hybrid thing is the second best thing because you don't have to squeeze it all into a week. You get like 12 months, you get all these calls, you get all these events, you get a great community. And then the pure online course is obviously like the lowest thing. That's like buying a book, right? So it's if you think about it from a book perspective, it's easier. Buying the book is the cheapest thing, but you have to do the most work.
mhm.
If you were able to have a call with the author every week, they would be able to help you implement the thing more simply. So if you had the book and a call with them every week, that would be better. But the absolute best thing is if you could sit in the room with the author for a full week and have
Mhm.
them focus on you and all the things you want to achieve. And then that you would imagine that would be the most expensive thing too. So we kind
Mhm.
of arrange it like most hands off for us, most hands on for us, and that's what determines the pricing as well.
Yeah, and for us, it has also been that so far the biggest net sales maker was design sprints, and this year, first time, it's vice versa. This kind of guided, facilitated sessions, uh, more sales than from design sprints this year, and mostly to our surprise, these the so-called strategy days. So we have to get a
Yeah.
group of people, decide on what to do next, agree on that.
Yes. That's
Sometimes it's called strategy day, sometimes let's go offsite, sometimes it's let's work together day, but the result
those
is
are my
more or less
favorite
the
things to
same.
do.
Yeah.
These are my favorite things to facilitate. I love facilitating offsites. I love facilitating leadership retreats. That kind
Hmm.
of stuff is so much fun. Um, Also well paid. I kind of like all of it. I'm going to be traveling a lot in the new year and doing a lot of corporate stuff, a lot of corporate facilitation, corporate training. I get a kick out of all of it. It's super fun.
Yeah. And last question before we jump out. What is your feeling how AI tools can help in facilitation, in preparation, in different
You'd
data
be amazed how
management?
often I get asked this question.
Yeah. Do you have
Um,
standard answer for that?
I honestly, my honest answer is I don't think about it much. I assume that, so the only thing I pay attention to is can this replace what we do? And if you're a facilitator who just reads from a manual and just says the names of exercises and has like no human element, then you're easy to replace.
Yeah.
Like if you're,
Like an app,
yeah, you're
Yeah.
an app.
Yeah.
But the type of facilitation we do, we call it emergent. I mean, actually, it's called emergent facilitation. We don't
Hmm.
call it that. We have our own thing called emergent collaboration system. But I can tell you, it takes me, would probably take me 1 month to train someone to run a design sprint, right? Just, but not like really well, but just say the exercises, show people how to do them and guide them through it. To actually be able to go in and run anything for any team, any challenge in the messiness of real life, that's like constant. You need constant help with this.
Yeah.
And you need a lot of reps and you need a lot of experience. That's why our
Mhm.
in-person stuff makes us the least amount of money, but you really get to see you get to feel what it's like to be in these emergent environments where it's chaotic.
Yeah.
I think AI will have a very difficult time simulating a human's ability to keep people on track and
A
be
human
empathetic.
to human thing still. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very human. It's a very human thing.
Very human thing.
I love so separately, I'm like into tech stuff. And so separately with AJ&Smart Studio, I love all the AI stuff. I'm super excited about it and I use everything. And I'm always playing with it. And my team here is like always super excited about all the new things coming out. But we don't see much in like, yeah, okay, Miro and all of these tools are going to have great summary tools. That's the thing. If you are a facilitator and you think summary tools are going to like replace facilitators, then you don't know what facilitation is, obviously.
Hmm.
You think you're a note taker or
Hmm.
a minute keeper, something like
Hmm.
that.
Yeah, that's right.
Facilitation has
Different
nothing
role.
to do with,
Yeah.
yeah, facilitation has nothing to do with documenting. Like that's
Hmm.
something that comes up all the time. People ask me like, oh yeah, but like, you know, with all these tools and it can just take notes and blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, since
Hmm.
when is facilitation about just taking notes? It's nothing to do with that.
Yeah,
You're
that's right.
visualizing discussions so that you can help teams make decisions. But um, I think AI tools are super, super handy. They can augment your experience as a facilitator, remove some of the annoying things. For example, like if you're doing a remote session, sometimes the client having just a summary transcript is kind of cool,
Mhm.
but it's not your job.
Yeah. Mhm. Okay. So thank you for your time, Jonathan. This was to summarize. Thank you for listening to this podcast. These are Andres from Futurist and Jonathan Courtney from AJ&Smart. And hopefully we'll
Thank
be
you.
on the next 100. You
Yes.
never know. You never
Yeah.
know.
Thanks so
Yeah.
much for having me on the podcast. I appreciate just
Thank you.
I'm really amazed that you got to 50 episodes. That's really cool. It's so rare.
Mhm.
So massive congratulations. I hope you keep going. I hope I am on the 100th episode. If you're willing to put up with my chaotic scheduling. But
Okay.
thank
Okay.
you so much. I appreciate it.
Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye bye.
Bye bye.